Kofi,
Boss.
good afternoon.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm very good. How's your week been?
It's been absolutely amazing.
Right.
I had a good time. We had a habitat fair at the mall, West Hills Mall, and it was actually brilliant.
Right.
Yes.
Did
But
you buy a house?
I booked for one.
booked for one?
Yes, I booked for one. I'll do my susu up until I can finish. They say rent to own, so
right.
Yeah, but it's nice meeting you for the first time.
Right, same here.
And I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Dr. Yawasafo.
Yeah, we're trying to follow the president. He doesn't joke with his African words.
Oh, really? That's right.
Maybe one day I also end up there.
But today you didn't have your the cowboy hat.
Oh,
I see he's in a new cowboy hat.
Hey, and you know the who here?
And but you're not here alone. You're here with a beautiful lady. I think as for her, I've met her before. Yaira.
Yeah.
Hi, Kofi.
Is everything
our drive dietitian.
Right. So we are so blessed on the drive, you know.
Yeah.
We have a doctor and a dietitian in Tinyamankoya.
Right.
But that brings us to the letter that we received today. You know, a lady sent in a letter. Yes, and she says, I am 28, female, and she mentions her name and says, I can't fit into... I am fat. Okay, that's what she says. She says, I'm 28, female, and I am fat.
Wow.
I can't fit into any dress type of fat.
Eesh.
Depressed and totally fed up.
Wow.
I got a job in a tech startup in Accra right after completing an ICT program at a technical university. Okay. I was very conscious about my looks as a teenager and a real fashionista when I was in SHS. I began to notice gradually that I was adding on the kilos soon after I started my national service. Since I got this job, it has been downhill in terms of my weight. My fashion style has changed. Now it is the maternity style that predominates. I have tried slim tea, weight loss tablets, gym registration, morning walks, etc. But I keep getting heavier. Can Drive Doctor and his dietitian help me out?
Wow.
This is the story we received.
She just went straight to the point.
Yes.
She's fat and
even depressed.
And even depressed.
Yes.
Wow. So, good afternoon to all our listeners. And this month of September, we dedicated it to nutrition. And we've titled it, I think we christened it, You Are What You Eat.
Yes, you are what you eat. Yes.
And I think in the last 2 weeks, we've talked about different aspects of nutrition. I'm talking about childhood nutrition. Today, I think from this letter, the focus is going to be on obesity. I think this week and next week, we're going to focus on obesity. But, Kofi, let me say hello to another person who I hope he's listening. He said he would avoid it, but I know he's listening. And that's Kofi Ansan. Okay. Kofi Ansan is not a stranger in this house. Everybody knows Kofi Ansan, but he has to listen to this program today. So I know he's listening.
Is there a reason why he's listening?
Oh, we are talking about Philip is here. Philip knows. So you are that's what to Philip. But I know Kofi Ansan is listening together with some of the gentlemen. So we're going to talk about obesity and overweight today.
Okay.
And Kofi, it's a big problem globally. Overweight and obesity. And these are terms that we use to represent the accumulation of excessive fat in the body that has the potential to cause adverse effects on your health. So the accumulation of excess fat in the body we will term overweight or obesity.
Are they the same?
No, they're not, and we'll come to the differences. But I mean, it's just the same spectrum, different ends of the same spectrum. You graduate from one to the other. Right. So let me share with you some key facts about obesity.
Okay.
There was a study that I pulled up in preparing for this show that says that nearly 43% of all Ghanaians, adults, are either overweight or obese.
Wow.
43%.
That's almost
alarming.
half.
That's about half
alarming.
of the adult population. That's very alarming.
Yes.
All right. The prevalence of overweight in Ghana in a recent study was estimated at 25%. And we'll come to that. That of obesity was estimated at 17% of the adult population. There was also a higher prevalence of overweight and obesity among urban Ghanaian dwellers compared to rural dwellers. Again, a very important point, and I'm sure when we get into the meat of the discussion, Yara would also
Right.
talk about it.
Right.
Yes, I would.
Again, women tend to be more obese compared to men. And the difference was very, very significant. It was about 22% of the adult female population being obese, as opposed to 6%
Oh, wow.
of men being obese. So the men, we are doing well. Except for a few people like Kofi and Sa. Like even Lexis, I can see Lexis at Teteho.
Namie.
Oh, but we are with Kofi, so you two are Kofi. So maybe. So maybe you're on that road. But Philip and I, and then
You are doing
Abeku,
well.
you know, we are on the right path. We are the ones making sure that we are not tipping the scales. We are keeping that at below 6%.
Doctor, I have one question. Let me put that across before you continue.
All right, sure.
So, even as a child, I heard that there are people that are big boned. I don't know if that is any
Concept that we
concept.
accept. Yes,
but
yes,
is it
yes.
actually true? Do we have people that are big boned, and regardless of what you do, they are going to be big?
Yes, we will come to that. It's
Okay.
part of
So
the
please-
genetics.
so please
and
keep
all
that
So
in
I
mind.
note that right now. He wants something to
He wants to put
he wants
himself
to
there.
Since 1980, Kofi, there has been a 200% increase in the prevalence of obesity and overweight globally.
200%.
200% from 1980. So within a very short period of time, say 30 years or going 40 years now, there's been such a rapid increase in the prevalence of obesity. Now, why is obesity such an important conversation? If we listen carefully to the story by our friend,
Yes.
she mentions different things. She talks about depression. She talks about her self-image. She used to be, somebody who sets trends in fashion.
Yes. Fashionista.
And now it's the maternity type,
yeah.
Type of outfit. It does a lot to your self-esteem and your image and how you carry yourself. Unfortunately or fortunately, in our part of the world, big is better. the men like it's, so
We love
Philip-
meat.
Yes. A woman of substance.
Yes.
So it's not such a big deal.
Right.
But in the Western world and other cultures, then it's a size 8 or maximum a size 10.
Right.
So then that also creates big image problems for individuals. But there are some health implications, and that's why you and I are here today to talk about obesity. There are the health implications of obesity and overweight that most of the time we lose sight of. According to the WHO, obesity remains today one of the most visible yet blatantly ignored public health problems. So it's a big problem. It's of pandemic proportions. But we joke about it. Oh, why you fine?
Which means you put on weight.
Exactly. And we sort of like just reinforce that whole thing. Why you're fine. So everybody's going to, and I have got to keep on doing what you're doing.
Right.
Hey, why, Dr. Saf, why don't you eat? Oh, Dr. Saf, why your wife,
She's not
you're
feeding
fine.
you
She's not feeding you.
Yeah.
Because I keep this frame, which I've kept since we finished school. So we tend to look at it differently. We tend to reinforce it. That's what we mean by very visible, but then blatantly ignored public health problem, which is obesity. Kofi, if I tell you that obesity has the same impact on life expectancy as smoking, would you believe me?
Wow.
Well, but that's the fact.
It's the same as smoking.
It has the same impact on life expectancy
Okay.
as smoking does.
Wow.
And when we begin to talk about smoking, we're not going to end from hair to the toe. It affects every part of the body adversely. So that is what obesity does to you. It increases your risk of developing high blood pressure, hypertension, increases your risk of developing a stroke, increases your risk of developing blood vessel cholesterol accumulation or blood vessel disease we call atherosclerosis. It is a risk factor in almost all types of cancers: breast cancer, ovarian cancer, cancer of the intestine, the large intestine, the colon, and ovarian cancer, for example. It is also a risk factor for developing diabetes. It is a risk factor for developing what we call sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a condition where you have difficulty in breathing anytime you sleep, and it wakes you up. So it ends up disrupting your sleep. So that's what we mean by sleep apnea. Osteoarthritis, your knees will give up on you very, very early on. So a lot of the people who come to our clinic for the specialist orthopedic clinic, most of them are females. And the typical Ghanaian female structure, the hips and then the heavy bottoms,
yes.
which is what most Ghanaian men would prefer. But then eventually the impact, the weight acts on the knees and then destroys the cartilage in there rapidly. Of course, that's not the only factor. And then there's also something we call sudden death or sudden cardiac death, where suddenly the individual just drops for no reason and then they die. So obesity has a lot of health implications, and that is why we want to talk about it. There is also the impact on the mental health of a lot of individuals. So when we talk about this person saying that they are depressed, yes, that's their mental health going right there and there.
Yes.
They may not be able to go to work, and then their productivity goes down. So
Yes.
Kofi, these are some of the health implications of carrying too much weight. Now let me talk to you about the distinction between being overweight and being obese.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very interested in that.
So we typically use something we call the body mass index as a marker for determining whether or not you are accumulating excessive fat. If you go online right now, you find a BMI app. If you just put it in Google, and the BMI uses your weight in kilograms divided by the square of your height in meters. So you take your height in meters and you find the square of that, and then you use that as the denominator, and then your weight in kilograms is the numerator. So when you do that, anything below 18 would say you are underweight. Between 18 and 25.0, it's the normal range.
The normal range, okay.
Meaning your weight is appropriate for your height. Beyond 25.0, that's 25.1, all the way through to 29.9, or if you like 25 and 30, then you'd say you are overweight. Anything above 30, you are obese. Then with the obesity, we grade it grade 1, grade 2, and then grade 3.
So it means that you become overweight and then you graduate to
Exactly.
being obese.
Yes.
Wow.
You keep going on that scale. So today we will check everybody's BMI. So those who are listening right now, I just want you to check your BMI, and then you can WhatsApp at your BMI, so we can tell you whether or not you are in the overweight category or you are in the obesity category. But overweight and obesity, they create the same type of problems for us all.
Wow. Anyway, we're still having a conversation with Dr. Yao Osafo and Yaira, and this drive chat is brought to you by MTN Everywhere You Go and Onga Chicken Tablet, Mama's Helping Hand. Onga, proudly Ghanaian. So, Doc, or let me ask Yaira, are there some foods that we eat that contribute to being overweight in the first place and then being obese?
Yes, definitely there are foods that when we eat would prone you to becoming obese or overweight. However, the choices you are making is very important in that there are certain foods we call high calorie foods. Now, the foods that we classify as high calorie, some of them are low in water. So if, for instance, you are taking food that is soup, you drink soup and then it will fill your stomach capacity, and so the bulky part of the food, you take something small and then you are okay. But if the food is low in water, then the likelihood that that food is high in calorie is there. So it means to be able to make sure you are choosing foods that will not prone you to obesity or overweight, you should be looking at foods that are high in water. So conversely, foods that are low in water are high in calorie, or are most likely high in calorie. Then there are also other foods that are low in fiber, and we term these foods as foods that are high in calories. So the high calorie foods, we have those that are low in water, and then we have those that are low in fiber. Now, when you take things in large, foods in large portions, so your plate has a lot of food on it, that's when we say you are eating a large portion, then the likelihood that you are taking so much energy is there. And then before we even digest the dietary factors that can contribute to obesity, I think we should talk about some causes of obesity in general. You have some drug induced causes of obesity. There are certain drugs that when you take can contribute to obesity. There's also the fact that you're having certain disease conditions that can prone you to becoming obese.
So it's not just about the food we eat.
It's not just about the food.
There are also drugs that
can make you become obese. Then there is also genetic predisposition. So sometimes you see a certain...
Kofi's favorite.
Which is
that's why he wants to put himself.
Well. We haven't done the BMI, so we don't know whether... But anyway, please go ahead.
Yeah, so there are certain families, you see them, most of them are big in stature, or they look fat. Excuse me, anyway.
No, excuse me. Fat is fat.
So that can be a genetic predisposition. So knowing the particular cause of obesity is very important. That would inform how we'll tackle the management. Now, aside all these ones we've mentioned, as the drug, the
food,
genetics and all, food is very important because, like Doc explained, obesity has to do with how much energy you are using compared to how much energy you are taking in. And so whichever of the causes it is, you should consider your food intake. Now, certain foods like drinks, sugar sweetened beverages, they tend to be high in energy. But then the issue is that we outside of the world, we don't usually consider them as food. So you ask someone, what did you eat? The person says, I ate banku, I ate fufu. Meanwhile, the person took some bottles of drink between them.
We normally say the papaya no.
Yeah, the fire minimum. So in such situations, you may most likely be taking more energy than you think. And if in the course of taking more energy, you are not expending that energy, you tend to store it as fat. Another thing is skipping breakfast. So a lot of people don't know, but when you skip breakfast, you are predisposing yourself to obesity.
Well, I want you to expatiate on that.
All right.
I mean, just explain how does it happen? Because I know a lot of people skip breakfast.
Yes.
A lot. I mean, because people don't want to have light foods as onum tea or a little porridge or something.
Yes.
People just want to have, like you said, bankun, wache,
the heavy ones.
So how does skipping breakfast contribute to being overweight or obese?
Yes. So like I said, the body uses energy we get from food for your daily activities. Now, when you are not eating, you've woken up, you are going about your activities, you are not eating, the body is expecting energy to be able to go about activities. So when food is not coming in, it anticipates some form of famine or hunger. And so it tends to reduce how much it uses the energy you have. So your body is not using much energy, but then you don't plan on starving yourself the whole day. So sometime during the afternoon, you go and eat. And the likelihood that you would eat so much, considering the intensity of the hunger you are feeling, is high. And so that is where people tend to eat more than
they are supposed to.
Yes, their body would ordinarily need.
Okay.
So you are predisposing yourself to obesity when you are skipping breakfast. Then excessive snacking. So people want to eat everything small. You may eat too much. You may consume too much energy than you will use throughout the day. In that situation, you can become obese.
More guilty of this particular thing.
Guilty. I'll say guilty because I'm a lady. But then
but be fair.
possible.
Be fair to us. But look, with what Yaira is talking about, I also hear these. I don't know if these are facts or myths, but I understand that it is actually better to snack in between time than having heavy meals at a go?
Well, it's not about the whether or not you should snack or you shouldn't snack. I think snacks are okay. I think the key point is
The
always
choice
about the
of
choice
snack.
of snack. What do you define as a snack? And that's where talking to a dietitian or your doctor would be
Very
great.
important.
Because the concept of counting calories. So in a day, we'll look at your physical activity in a day based on your work you do, and see how much energy you expend. We'll look at even your age. For example, as we grow older, what we call the resting metabolism, it tends to go down. But that's when a lot of us come into our economic prime. So now we have money.
We
and
can
therefore,
Yeah.
we tend to load it. But as you're growing older, what we call the resting metabolism, the amount of calories your body burns in the resting state while not doing any activity, that tends to go down with age. So the meals are important. Breakfast is important. Lunch is important. Supper is
Supper is also
important.
important.
You can snack in between the major meals, but what you snack on is very, very important. And then also, we don't encourage large portions. Yeah, do we?
Yes, we
Even
don't
for your main
encourage
meals.
large
Yeah.
portions.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
eat
even for the
banku.
main meals.
Even for the main meals, we don't encourage large portions. I mean, I saw Philip eating fufu once. I almost passed out.
Collapsed.
I almost collapsed. Even the place where he was eating the fufu, I didn't even know there was fufu available.
Over there.
We were all doing the,
With regards to that,
continental-
I have a question. I know we are running out of time anyway, but I'll keep that question for next week.
Yes, we'll
It's
do a
got to
part
do
two
with
next
yes,
week.
we have to
Yeah.
because it's got to do with people being slim but eating
large portions.
large portions of
Exactly.
food and intake of
Exactly.
calories.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, but let's shift a bit attention to the lady that sent in the story. Okay,
Right.
so what could possibly be the cause of her being obese? Because she mentioned that she's been doing all the things she talked about.
Mm-hmm.
She's been walking. She's tried Slim Tea.
gym.
Yeah, she's on a waist loss tablet and all that. I'm quite sure she's eating well as well.
Right.
So after everything, why is she still being obese?
Right, so we'd need a lot more information before we're able to answer that into detail. Next week as well, too, we're going to focus on the what can I do about obesity. But I'd say that I'm very much interested in knowing the sudden nature of it, what happened. Because when it was in secondary
Yes,
school,
yes.
she was fine.
Yes, she said she was
and
fine.
then she developed this problem later on. Could it be that she has developed some endocrine problem? Could it be that she has developed some of the medical disease conditions of the brain?
Right.
Yes.
If I tell you, Kofi, that for example, the medicines, when we talk about medicines, oral contraceptive pills can make you put on weight. Oral contraceptive pills
Wow.
can make you put on weight. So a woman goes to take OCPs, for example, and then she starts to put on weight. So I would need to talk to her, try and get the history. Has she been on any medicines? Has she developed any medical condition in the time period between secondary school and then finishing? But she said something, that she got a job in a tech startup
Yep.
right after school. These people tend to live a very, very sedentary lifestyle. They just sit down and, I don't know, maybe they are an app development company, whatever. They just do a lot of sitting. So we will have to do that. I'm sure Yaya will also want to talk to her, find out her
Yes.
activity level, and then we'll determine how much calories she needs in a day, and then how much she's burning in a day, and then we'll look at the differences. So quite a number of things we have to do. But I must also say that some of these things, they don't work. The slim tea, the massage.
Doc, please reiterate that.
A lot of these things, they don't work. And next week, I have a special announcement. We'll keep it under wraps, but we'll make that announcement next week. Something Medicas is bringing out to help with all those who are struggling with it.
Very well. I know our listeners are very much interested in the conversation we're having. So what we're going to do is that next week, when you are here with us on Drive on Joy, we're going to activate the phones and make sure that people call in and ask all the questions that they have.
Yeah.
But I would really want to know what actually contributed to this. Lady
Sudden
being
weight gain.
being obese, because there are so many people that have had some of these problems. They try out everything. You are saying not all of them work. They eat well, and we still have problems with their weight. So thank you very much for coming, Dr. Yao Asafo and Yaira, and we'll continue this conversation next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. So we were in a conversation with Dr. Yao Osafo and Yaira, and we had a conversation on obesity. We're going to activate the phones next week so that you can ask all your questions and find out if you are obese or not. If you've heard about the BMI, well, you can Google it and try to find out if you are obese or not. But until then, keep your dials locked right here on Joy 99.7 FM.